62% of used Mercedes SUVs need a major repair within the first year of ownership. 62%. Some hit 150,000 miles on nothing but oil changes. Others are in the shop every 6 months with repair bills higher than most people's car payments. Same badge, same luxury, completely different reliability. 5 Mercedes SUVs actually worth buying used, and 3 you should walk away from no matter how good the deal looks. Stick around. Number 1 has the lowest cost per mile of any Mercedes SUV ever made, and dealerships never mention it because the margins are terrible. Let's expose them all. Number 5, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class W202. We start with the Mercedes that the modern C-Class pretends it never knew, the W202. C-Class ran from 1993 to 2001. It is old, it is simple, it has no adaptive suspension, no active body control, no turbocharged 4-cylinder trying to pretend it belongs in a luxury vehicle. What it has instead is a naturally aspirated inline 6-cylinder engine, a conventional 4-speed automatic transmission, and a build quality from an era when Mercedes engineers still believed a car should be assembled rather than merely manufactured. The years to target are 1997 to 2001. The early 1993 to 1996 models used an older engine management system that was less refined and had documented idle quality issues in cold weather. The 1997 facelift updated the electronics, revised the interior materials significantly, and improve the build consistency across the production line. Avoid the C230 compressor 4-cylinder supercharged models if longevity is your primary objective. The supercharger adds a mechanical component that wears over time, and the 4-cylinder engine in this application runs closer to its limits than the 6-cylinder. The supercharger itself can fail past 120,000 miles, with replacement running $800 to $1,300. The engine you want is the 2.8-liter M112 V6 or the 2.2-liter M111 inline-4 in naturally aspirated form. The M112 V6 is the definitive choice. It is a naturally aspirated single overhead cam engine producing 193 horsepower, with a smoothness and refinement that modern turbocharged 4s cannot replicate regardless of output figures. Mechanics who trained on Mercedes vehicles from this era describe the M112 engine with something approaching affection. The architecture is conventional, the timing is handled by a chain, the valve adjustment is hydraulic, the oil filter is on top of the engine in plain sight. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is unnecessarily complicated. The driving character of the W202 is a reminder of what luxury used to mean before luxury became synonymous with technology. The ride is firm and controlled. The steering has genuine weight and communication. The cabin is quiet in a way that comes from door seals and glass thickness rather than active noise cancellation algorithms. The honest truth about weak points starts with the automatic transmission conductor plate. The 4-speed automatic uses a conductor plate mounted inside the transmission that carries electrical signals to the solenoids. This plate can fail and cause erratic shifting or a complete loss of drive. The repair requires dropping the transmission pan and replacing the plate, running about $600 to $900 at an independent shop. It is a known failure point but entirely manageable. A well-maintained M1 12V6 will reach 250,000 miles without internal work. We see them at 200,000 miles still running with the quiet composure that made this engine famous. Find clean examples for $3,000 to $7,000. In a market flooded with complicated modern Mercedes with complicated modern problems, the W202 is the reminder that simplicity was once a Mercedes virtue. But what if you need a family-sized Mercedes without the family-sized repair bills of the modern models? Our next pick is the estate car that turned practical buyers into lifelong Mercedes converts, and it has been doing it quietly for over 20 years. Number 4, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class W210. The W210 E-Class wagon is the vehicle that Mercedes built when they still believed a luxury car should haul your furniture and your family across a continent without asking anything in return except fuel and scheduled maintenance. The estate version specifically deserves its position on this list independently of the sedan. It combines the proven drivetrain of the W210 platform with a cargo capacity that makes modern crossovers look modest, a third-row option that accommodates real children rather than theoretical ones, and a build quality in the load area that treats luggage with the same respect as passengers. The years to target are 2000 to 2003. This is critical and non-negotiable. The early W210 models from 1996 to 1999 had a notorious and catastrophic rear subframe rust problem. The rear subframe mounting points, where the subframe bolts through the body floor, were inadequately protected against moisture and road salt. The steel rotted from the inside. Owners discovered the problem when the subframe began to separate from the body at highway speeds. Mercedes issued a recall in several markets, but the damage to early production vehicles was widespread. From 2000 onward, Mercedes applied significantly improved improved corrosion protection to the subframe mounting points and the surrounding body sections. The problem did not disappear entirely, but reduced to a manageable inspection item rather than a structural crisis. You must inspect the rear subframe mounting points on any W210 you consider buying, regardless of the model year. Get underneath the car with a flashlight. Look at the 4 points where the rear subframe meets the body floor. If you see rust bleeding from these points, walk away regardless of price. Under the hood, the engine you want is the 3.2-liter M112 V6 with the 5-speed automatic. This is the same engine family as the W202, C-Class entry on this list. Naturally aspirated, timing chain equipped, conventional valve train, hydraulic valve adjustment, 124,000 units of proven reliability before you even start counting this application. The diesel option, the E2 20CDI with the OM611 4-cylinder diesel, is equally compelling for buyers who prioritize fuel economy and torque over outright performance. The OM611 is a cast iron block diesel with a conventional single turbocharger and injection system that mechanics who know diesel Mercedes treat with genuine respect. Fuel economy on the diesel estate regularly exceeds 40 miles per gallon in highway driving. The honest truth about weak points beyond the subframe issue starts with the instrument cluster pixel failure. The LCD display in the instrument cluster uses a ribbon connector that degrades with heat cycling over time. Individual segments of the speedometer, odometer, and temperature display begin dropping out. The display becomes progressively less readable. A cluster refurbishment from a specialist runs about $250 and restores full function. A properly maintained M112 V6 will reach 250,000 miles. The OM611 diesel will go further still, with documented examples at 300,000 miles still on original internal components. Find clean 2000 to 2003 examples for $4,000 to $9,000. For a wagon that carries 7 people, hauls a full load of cargo, and does it all on the mechanical simplicity of a pre-complexity Mercedes, the value is genuinely extraordinary. The W210 estate is the practical choice, but our next pick is where this list starts getting serious, because our number 3 pick is not just reliable, it is legendary. Number 3, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class W211. This is the Mercedes that taxi companies in Turkey and South Africa discovered before private buyers in America caught on. The W211 E2 20CDI ran from 2003 to 2009. It is the diesel E-Class that sits between the charming simplicity of the W210 and the concerning complexity of the W212's later years. It has just enough modern technology to feel contemporary and just little enough to be maintained without a dealer's infrastructure. The years to target are 2006 to 2009. The 2003 and 2004 models had some early injection system calibration issues and a version of the rear subframe mounting concern that carried over from the W210 generation, though less severely. From 2006 onward, both concerns were resolved through production updates. Avoid the 4MATIC all-wheel drive models if your primary concern is long-term reliability and low maintenance costs. The transfer case and front differential add mechanical components that add maintenance intervals and add failure points. In the context of a vehicle chosen for its longevity, simplicity is always the correct choice. Under the hood is the 2.1-liter OM646 4-cylinder diesel paired with the 7-speed 7 G-tronic automatic. The OM646 is the direct predecessor to the OM651 that powers the W212 generation. It is a diesel engine with a cast iron block, conventional single turbocharger, and a common rail injection system that had been in production long enough to have its failure modes fully mapped by the time the W211 received it. It produces 150 horsepower and 251 foot-pounds of torque. That torque figure is the key to understanding why this engine survives where others do not. The torque arrives at 1200 revolutions per minute. From 1200 revolutions per minute onward, the engine is pulling with authority. It never needs to work hard. It never revs high. It never runs hot. An engine that is never stressed is an engine that never wears. Fuel economy is between 38 and 44 miles per gallon in real-world mixed driving. On a long motorway journey, the figure climbs above 45. For a full-size luxury sedan carrying 4 adults, these numbers are almost offensive in how good they are. Mechanics who know diesel Mercedes describe the OM646 as the engine they would choose if they were buying a Mercedes to keep for 15 years. The architecture is proven. The service intervals are straightforward. The parts are available from multiple suppliers at prices that make the diesel designation feel like a bargain rather than a premium. The driving experience of the W211 CDI is defined by effortless progress. The torque makes city driving a matter of barely touching the accelerator. The 7-speed transmission shifts with a smoothness that disguises the utilitarian nature of the diesel power plant completely. At motorway speeds, the cabin is as quiet as any petrol E-Class from the same era, and the engine note drops to an almost imperceptible background texture. The honest truth about weak points starts with the diesel particulate filter. The DPF requires periodic regeneration cycles to burn off accumulated soot. These cycles complete automatically during extended highway driving. Owners who drive exclusively short urban trips prevent the regeneration from completing, leading to a blocked filter. A blocked DPF replacement runs $1,200 to $2,000. The solution is a monthly 30-minute highway drive at sustained speed. This is not a design flaw. It is a diesel characteristic that owners must understand before purchase. A properly maintained OM 646 diesel will reach 350,000 miles. European fleet data documents this. It is not speculation. These engines accumulate miles the way other engines accumulate problems. Find clean 2006 to 2009 examples for $7,000 to $13,000. You are buying 350,000 miles of potential longevity for the price of a base economy crossover. Nothing else in this segment offers that equation. The W211 CDI is the rational choice for the high mileage driver. But our next pick is the Mercedes that engineers built when they asked themselves a simple question: what would happen if we built a saloon car the way we build a truck? Number 2. The Mercedes-Benz W124 E-Class. Before you skip past this because of the age, understand what you're being offered. The W124 E-Class, built from 1984 to 1996, is not just an old car. It is the last Mercedes-Benz built entirely under the engineering philosophy of Rudolf Uhlenhaut, the chief engineer who believed that a Mercedes should be over-engineered to a degree that customers would never fully appreciate because the over-engineering would simply never reveal itself through failure. The engineering excess in the W124 is almost irrational. The body shell is built to tolerances that were unnecessary for a production saloon. The door hinges are sized for a vehicle twice as heavy. The wiring harness connectors are sealed against moisture ingress that the designers acknowledged was unlikely in normal use. The chassis welds are applied at intervals that exceeded the structural requirements of any load the car would realistically encounter. The result is a vehicle that people drive to 500,000 miles and then continue driving. The best years to target are 1992 to 1996. The later production years represent the most refined assembly and the most developed versions of the engine options. The early models from 1984 to 1988 used older engine management systems and a 4-speed automatic that, while reliable, is less refined than the 5-speed unit introduced in the 1990 update. The engine you want is the 3.2-liter M104 inline 6-cylinder in the E320. This is a double overhead cam, naturally aspirated inline 6, producing 217 horsepower. It is the engine that Mercedes engineers used as the internal benchmark for refinement during its entire production run. Smooth beyond what the specification suggests, quiet beyond what the architecture requires. Built to tolerances that produced a unit where individual engines were virtually indistinguishable from each other in character. Alternatively, the 2.5-liter OM6025 cylinder diesel in the E250D is a tractor engine wearing a business suit, 5 cylinders, pre-common rail mechanical injection, a cast iron block that weighs more than some entire modern engines. It produces 94 horsepower and runs on determination rather than specification. Documented examples at 700,000 miles exist. This is not a misprint. Mechanics who trained on W124 vehicles describe the experience as the closest modern equivalent to working on a pre-war vehicle. Every component is sized generously. Every fastener is the correct specification rather than the minimum acceptable specification. Nothing fights you. Nothing surprises you. The honest truth about weak points starts with the window regulator cables. These are the most common failure on W124 vehicles. The cable-operated window regulators stretch and fray over decades of use. A replacement regulator runs about $80 per door. It is not a complicated repair. A maintained M104 inline 6 will reach 300,000 miles. The OM602 diesel will go further, substantially further, without irony. Find clean examples for $4,000 to $11,000 depending on condition, mileage, and whether you're buying the petrol or diesel. For a vehicle with this longevity potential, this build quality, and this engineering philosophy, the price is almost embarrassingly low. The W124 is the Mercedes that time forgot and engineers still cite in private conversations about how to build something correctly. But our number one pick is the model that took every lesson from the W124 and applied it to a vehicle that is still in production today because nobody has figured out how to improve it enough to justify changing it. Number 1. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class, a W4, the G-Class. The vehicle that has been in continuous production since 1979. The vehicle that has served in the armed forces of over 40 nations. The vehicle that has crossed every desert, climbed every mountain, and forded every river that its owners pointed it toward. And the vehicle that, in its most reliable civilian configuration, will genuinely outlast everything else on this list. The W463 generation, which began in 1990 and continues to the present day in updated form, is the version to target. The earlier W460 generation from 1979 to 1991 was the original military specification vehicle, and while enormously capable, lacked the refinements that made the W463 livable as a daily driver. The best years to target for the used market as of 2026 are 2002 to 2012. This window gives you the fully developed W463 platform with the most proven powertrain combinations before the significant electronic complexity introduced with the 2013 facelift and the complete redesign of 2019. Avoid the 2013 to 2018 models if budget maintenance is a primary concern. The updated electronics, new transmission, and revised engine management introduced significant complexity that the pre-2013 models do not carry. The pre-2013 G-Class is not a simple vehicle. The post-2013 version is considerably less simple. Avoid the AMG variants entirely unless you have a dedicated specialist relationship and an unlimited repair fund. The AMG G555 and AMG G63 are extraordinary vehicles. They are also extraordinary expenses when any component of their forced induction, high-output systems requires attention. The engine you want is the 5-liter M113 naturally aspirated V8 in the G500, running from 2002 to 2006. This is the same M113 engine family that powered multiple Mercedes models across this era, naturally aspirated, timing chain equipped, 306 horsepower delivered with an unhurried, rolling authority that reflects the vehicle's character perfectly. Alternatively, the 3-liter OM642 V6 diesel in the G320CDI from 2006 to 2012 is the longevity specialist's choice. 224 horsepower and 398 foot-pounds of torque from a diesel V6 with a cast-iron block and a proven common rail injection system. Fuel economy for a vehicle of this size and weight is surprisingly reasonable at 22 to 26 miles per gallon in mixed driving. Mechanics who know the G-Class describe it as the most honest vehicle in the Mercedes lineup. The body is mounted on a fully separate ladder frame chassis. You can see the frame rails underneath the body. The suspension is solid axles front and rear with coil springs. It is a 1979 truck architecture wrapped in increasingly modern technology. When something goes wrong, you can find it. When something needs replacing, you can reach it. The 3 locking differentials, one center and one for each axle, are mechanical units operated by dashboard switches. They lock mechanically and hold mechanically. There are no electro-hydraulic actuators involved, no control modules monitoring differential status. When you engage the lock, it locks. When you disengage it, it unlocks. The simplicity of this system is extraordinary in the context of modern 4-wheel drive technology. And somehow, despite all of this, it is addictive. The commanding seating position, the view over every other vehicle on the road, the sound of the solid axles compressing over rough terrain, the knowledge that you could leave the tarmac and the vehicle would not notice. There is nothing else like it. A properly maintained M113 V8 G500 will reach 250,000 miles without internal work. The OM642 diesel will reach 300,000 miles comfortably and has documented examples beyond that in fleet use. Find clean 2002 to 2006 G500 examples for $35,000 to $55,000. The G320 CDI diesel runs $28,000 to $45,000 for clean examples in good markets. Yes, these are higher prices than everything else on this list. The G-Class commands them because demand from owners who understand what they are buying never wavers. The G-Class is not the most economical Mercedes on this list. It is not the most practical or the most fuel efficient. It is simply the most indestructible, the one that will still be running when the others have long since retired, the one that earns its price in decades rather than years. Click on the next video for more no-nonsense car guides. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drive a Mercedes that was built to deserve the badge. I'll see you in the next one.